What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. We're diving into Kiko Mauigoa today, our linebacker, aka Kiko. And while he's our last draft pick, he's the one that is probably most intriguing to me just because of the position, how he's flown under the radar so far and his potential to still have a decent impact in year one as a rookie for us. So when you look at, of course, recapping OTAs and minicamp, as mentioned, he's flown under the radar. So there's not a ton to really draw from or infer there, but the training camp preview is a lot more intriguing because you can make a few educated guesses about how the coaching staff might want to use him, maybe what his snap count percentage is going to end up looking like for the year, and maybe even to a certain degree kind of the roles that he's expected to be in. But he's, it's weird because him and Tyler Barron are really the standouts in technically a bad way, right? Armand Mimbu is starting, and he's got about as much fare as you can expect from someone on the offensive line when pads aren't on. Mason Taylor has kind of been the star of the group because people inside and outside of the building can't stop talking about him. Azari Thomas pushing for a starting role. Malachi Moore pushing for a starting role. And then you get to our final two guys here. And for a day 3 5th round pick, I'm not expecting a ton of stuff. But still, just in comparison to the rest of the class, let's not forget Arian Smith, by the way, who looks like he can potentially be a number 2 player, maybe number 3 in terms of the wide receiver room for us based on what he's done in OTAs and such so far. But when you look at, for one, kind of the expectations with him, right? I think legitimately you can look at someone like Francisco and say he's going to be looked at as the new Jamien Sherwood, right? He's going to be a long-term understudy, and then hopefully when he gets his chance to shine, he can go out there and put all that behind-the-scenes development on tape when the games actually matter. But he also sticks out like a sore thumb because he's one of the few linebackers, I think Jackson Sermon might be one of the other ones that isn't just naturally, undersized at that position. He's one of the few that stand out as kind of that downhill, difference maker, right? He's going to come, look to be physical. He doesn't necessarily have the sideline moves. And in fact, when we did our breakdown, I called out the lack of, lateral agility, if you will, as kind of a red flag, and definitely something that made it interesting to see that we picked him specifically, right? But you know that Aaron Glenn wants to be more physical and stuff like that. So when you look at one of the few numbers that stands out from college, 17% broken/missed tackle rate is going to stand out. That's going to be something that definitely has to be cleaned up, especially if you're considering yourself a downhill thumper, right? When you go to lay a guy out, you expect him to end up on the floor, and you don't want guys necessarily having to bounce off of you and things like that. So looking at how does this translate, right? How does Jamien Sherwood and even Quincy Williams end up becoming a mentor to somebody that has a completely different playing style to him, right? What can he pick up? I assume a lot of that is going to be just from the communication standpoint because he does look like he can be a Mike linebacker. And so you are going to expect him to be able to go out there and get the defense lined up and make the calls, checks, adjustments to help everybody out based on what he's seeing. But the IQ is high level enough, right? I don't think the athleticism or the agility always allows him to go out there and make the plays on what he's seeing. But you can tell that he's a guy that understands, for the most part, what an offense is attempting to do. And once he sees, he can go after. And after that, it's a gamble about whatever happens. But he's a core special teamer that can play every unit. So he already has the special teams, badge up his sleeve in terms of being able to get on the field just in whatever capacity that looks like. But again, because he's been under the radar and because you've heard other names like undrafted free agents from prior years, Marcelino McCurry Ball, for example, you do have to question, is this a guy that could potentially be a cut candidate, even though we're talking about him being a long-term understudy? Is this a guy that could fly under the radar and you stash him on practice squad and then you move him up as needed? in favor for somebody that maybe follows the mold of what you're getting with Quincy Williams and Jamien Sherwood a little bit better, right? And one of the people that I will call out in that facet, another undrafted free agent in Aaron Smith, which is a guy from SC State that offers a lot of the same physical build, a lot of the same qualities as what you get out of your starters right now. So it shouldn't be a ton of difference in terms of how you can deploy those guys. Obviously, the skill set, the confidence, the consistency, and how you've seen these guys play are going to be vastly different. But still, it's going to be a ton of competition, right? He has to go and beat out guys like Marcelino McCurry-Ball, Zaire Barnes, Jared Bartlett, another UDFA, Jamin Davis, who's a former first-round pick and obviously has the pedigree and the profile of somebody that should be able to go out there and succeed in the NFL. So it's definitely an uphill climb for him, and if you take draft status out of the equation, he's definitely a guy that you could see being on the chopping block for all purposes. But I can't help thinking just again about the physical play style and kind of the switch up you get, right? Because with someone like Kiko, you're basically getting a first and second down linebacker, but you're getting a guy that should be able to go out there and allow you to play a Quincy or Jamien in more of that sideline to sideline capacity, as opposed to the switch up that we're going to see this year. The Detroit Lions, I believe, were fourth most in the NFL when it came to using their linebackers in blitz playing styles, right? And so you expect that to change vastly for Quincy and Jamien, and that's even technically a plus in their books based on what we've seen. And I think with Salo, we were like one of the lowest, second to lowest ranked teams for that same situation of blitzing our linebackers, but it'll allow them to free up and maybe play the classic way that they've been playing while allowing Kiko to come down and be able to help plug in and fill some of those gaps or attack the first guy that ends up finding daylight there. So I'm really intrigued by what this exactly is going to look like for him. I know I've seen a little bit. I got to go back and check it out, but X Factor was talking about also a bit of hidden potential with being able to deploy someone like Kiko as a outside linebacker and allow him to go out there and rush the passer as well, based on what we've seen him do in Miami and kind of the sneaky good ability that he's shown to be able to go and do that. So it's kind of a toss-up. You can see him essentially being able to play a little bit of everything in his defense, which is kind of what you is ideal for someone like Aaron Glenn, at least as how we've seen him deploy other front seven guys. I think, of course, in this day and age, versatility is king, but then you can also look at a team like the Chargers, for example, who played a very simplified version of defense, but guys were executing at a high level. So we'll see. I think Aaron Glenn and the combination of Steve Wilks might be a little bit more complex as opposed to simplifying things and expecting guys to just execute on those. But we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think, though, about Kiko, a.k.a. Francisco Mauigoa. I'll catch you guys again. Peace.